afternoon, students. Today we are going to be learning about how to write a letter of complaint. As you know, in the previous series, I have taught you how a formal letter is to be written. And because the formal letter has to be written in a formal format, I will show you once again what is the format that we follow when writing a formal letter. Let us have a look at this. This is the format of a formal letter. You are well aware of it that this question is for 6 marks and it is to be done within 10 to 12 minutes, for which the format gives us 1 mark. Then you have 3 marks for the content, and language and expression, which means correct spelling, grammar, correct sentences, everything should be properly done, and this is another 2 marks. So this is the bifurcation of 6 marks. The question should be attempted within 10 minutes. I will be explaining to you with the examination point of view in mind, so that when you write answers, you know that this is a question of the exam and I have to finish it within this much duration. So now in official letters, what do we start with? We start with the sender's address first, followed by the date, then the receiver's address, the subject, then the salutation. In certain letter formats, you will find that the salutation is before and the subject is below the salutation. That will also be found, and that is correct. It is acceptable. So you don't have to worry if it is wrong. It is also acceptable. Then we go on to the introductory para, which is the introduction of the main issue. Then you have the main body of the letter, which is going to further give in detail whatever has been stated in the introduction. Then you have the concluding para, which includes some sort of appeal or suggestion or something like that which is relevant, followed by the closing salutation, which is a yours faithfully signature and the name. This is the format of a formal letter. Now let us look at an example of how a formal letter is written. We are going to do a guided practice discussion. This is a letter talking about complaining of services. When a patient was taken to the hospital and there the person who took him there was very unhappy with the way the patient was treated, even though it was a victim of a hit and run accident, and you are well aware of how accident patients should be given priority because their injuries are most serious. Anyway, now let us see what the question says. When you look at this question, you should remember one thing, that this is your verbal input and it gives you the complete guidance to what is required in the answer. You have to read this part very carefully. You will get all the information you need and you have to build up on it. Lot of details have to be invented, but at the same time, what you are being tested for is the relevant thing. That means if it is relevant to the question that is being asked, if you are going to write irrelevant things which are not needed, then you will not be marked for it and you will unnecessarily be wasting time. Only the relevant portion that is written will be taken and marks will be given on that basis only. So remember, students, we have to write questions, we have to write the answers related to the questions asked only. Alright, now let us look at this question. Yesterday you went to Sunrise Hospital, Market Road, New Delhi with a victim of a hit and run accident. There were chaotic conditions in the casualty department. The injured was attended to after a lot of precious time had been lost. So now all these things have been looked at. Now you have to build all this information. Now who are you writing a letter of complaint? It says write a letter of complaint in 120 to 150 words to the medical superintendent. You are Karun or Karuna and this is your address. Okay. So now they have given you this information. So now how are you going to write your answer? First portion that you have is the sender's address. They have given you the sender's address in the question. You have to write it here. Then the date. Then who are you writing the letter to? That is the receiver's address. But they have also mentioned you have to write a letter to the medical superintendent. So medical superintendent of this particular hospital, Sunrise Hospital, Market Road, New Delhi. Then you have the salutation here and the subject. So here, as I mentioned before also, that sometimes a subject will be below the salutation. It will be considered as correct and not as incorrect. Now the introductory paragraph tells you in 2 lines they have explained. This was with reference to the poor treatment meted out to a victim of hit and run accident by a hospital staff on so and so day. Now the main body of the paragraph, they have given more details. If you see this, here it says there were chaotic conditions in the casualty department. Now whatever information is there, it is not given in this question, but the writer has used his or her imagination to invent this information because it is supposed to be realistic. Now let us look at this more clearly. What does the writer say here? They were chaotic conditions in the casualty department. We reached at 6:30. The doctor on duty was available, came 2 hours later. Even the nurse and attendants were least interested in attending. A hit and run patient should be attended to before the registration. One cannot ask for registration fee, but I had to pay 250 rupees. They refused to attend and asked us to first register the case, not look at the bleeding patient. The injured was attended after a lot of precious time was lost. So the victim was finally saved, but only after a lot of blood had been lost. And now this is the main body of the paragraph where the writer has given you complete information. Then he says, I hope you will look into this matter and take strict action. Once this issue is resolved, many precious lives can be saved. So here he is giving an appeal in the last stanza and then thanks and regards, Karuna. So that's the closing of the letter. So this is a solved example for you through which you can understand how a letter of complaint is to be made. Now in a letter of complaint, it is not always about services that are faulty. A lot of time the complaints can also be about the purchase of certain gadgets. Suppose you have bought a fridge from somewhere and now it is not functioning properly. So you have to make a complaint for that. Sometimes you may have purchased. The question can be anything. It can be related to an inverter in your house which is not working. So what you should be aware of the things that you use, of the objects that are there in your house. There would be electronic gadgets. Now they can also have problems. Electronic appliances can have problems. Even vehicles can have problems. You may have bought very little insignificant things, but once they stop working, then obviously quality is not as it is promised to you by the seller. So you have an official right to make a complaint. And sometimes after many times the complaints are not addressed. Now these are real life situations that you will be given, and you have to write a letter in brief, polite language to be able to express your point of view and address your issue. To be able to do that, you have to come up with facts and information which is not always completely provided to you. You have to build on this information. So you have to invent information. And that is very important. Your creativity is going to be tested here. Also along with correct grammar. So students, we have finished this one class. And in the next class, I will be sharing with you further information about another kind of letter writing in a formal style. Thank you. This is the end of your class.